yeah. Ooh. Granny flying, she was flying. I say, whoa, 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 whoa. Granny flying, she was flying. She went underneath a mattress and without a greasy bag. Count up $10, call her grandson to her side. I know it was the two of you last night, my pipe you packed. Take this $10 and bring me the whole sack. Granny flying, she was flying. I say, whoa, 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 whoa. Granny flying, she was flying.
I'm gonna huff and a puff, gonna blow this house down. Gonna huff and a puff, 'cause I don't play around. Gonna huff and a puff, gonna blow this house down. I'm the big bad wolf, don't nobody mess around with Granny. Oh, fine,
Granny flying, she was flying.
say, go on, say that was.
Granny flying, she was flying. One big shot come along, give Granny 100 for her sack. Before he leaves, she decides she gonna go look for more. With one flashlight in her hand, she dash out to Sand Dollar Beach. But a man with a Tommy gun make my Granny run, 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 run. Ooh. Granny flying, she was flying. I say, whoa, 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 whoa. Granny flying, she was flying. Oh, she huffed and she puffed, but she ain't look around. She huffed and she puffed, her feet ain't touch the ground. Oh, she huffed and she puffed until she reached the town. This ain't no joke, that was the last time Granny smoked. Granny flying, she was flying. I say, whoa, 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 whoa. Granny flying, she was flying. I say, whoa, 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 whoa. Granny flying, she was flying. I say, whoa, 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 whoa. Granny flying, she was flying.
I ain't run so fast in years. That stuff is dangerous. A gal could get herself killed like that.
Like a song comes on strong, like a music, hard and long. Lovely island woman in my arms, filling up my life on the shore. When she moves, she feels so sweet, rocking all time to the island beat. Bahamian music turn me on. Bahamian music is my song. Check it, check it, check it, check it.
This is 99.5 Global FM, your number one source for R&B in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Global.
The Professor. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself live on Global Radio 99.5 FM.
Oh,
Good afternoon, Bahamas. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. I do apologize for the delay in the show today. That is not in accordance with the standard that should be set. So I apologize to the listening audience for the delay. I got caught up with some things, and time just seemed to run so fast. So you got to pray for me that I can be on time every single day until the man come back, because we have to do a lot of work in the country, and we have a lot of problems that need resolving. And we have as a special guest today, Mr. Tyrone Johnson. He is working with adolescent children in the counseling area. Mr. Tyrone Johnson, welcome to Global Radio 99.5 FM.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. I'm so happy to be a part of your show today.
Yes, sir. Now, give us a background about yourself and what sort of counseling you give to these adolescent people. Are these little babies or who are they?
Well, you know what? They are like one of my good friends used to call them. They are little darlings.
Oh, little darlings. Okay. All right.
Adolescents start from the ages 10 to 19.
10 to 19.
Yeah, that is considered the adolescent area or era.
Uh-huh.
And I work.
When they say adolescent, what does that interpreted to mean?
It's the stage of moving from childhood to adulthood.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right.
they are 10 years to 19 years.
Okay.
That includes all of the adolescent development stages, the 3 stages of adolescent development.
Right.
The early stage of development is from like 10 to 13, 14.
Uh-huh.
The middle stage is like from 14 to 16.
Uh-huh.
And the beyond stage, or the late stage of adolescent development, actually starts from 16 to 19. And in some cases go up as old as 24 years of age.
24, okay.
Yeah, as
all
we
right.
know, the development of an individual, the
Yes.
physical and sexual development of an individual
Right.
is not complete until at least 24 years of age.
Okay.
Really, that is the mature level
Uh-huh.
of which the brain is fully functioning, the body is fully developed, can handle all of the adverse effects or positive effects of childbirth,
Yes.
and all of those necessities that happens when you become an adult.
Okay.
So that is the adolescent development, moving from childhood stage to adult stage, adult life.
Right.
Yeah. And so
So-
they go through lots of changes, emotional, physical, spiritual, social, and academic changes during those 10 to 19 years.
10 to 19 years.
Yes.
But I want you to comment on the spiritual changes that they are going through.
Well,
What have you found out in your years of experience?
Well, listen, there are some young people who have been exposed to social media, and there are a whole lot of information as it relates to spiritual situations in this world.
Okay.
And so there are some people who have decided that they don't believe in the God that we know or the God that we serve in the Bahamas.
Uh-huh.
And then there are some who believe in other fantasy worlds kind of thing. Other people who have connected with what should I call it? The supernatural in terms of black magic and that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
And so a lot of young people are falling prey to the information that is on social media that has
Okay.
been placed there by many different religions, as it were, in the world. But in the Bahamas, I mean, I was talking about Bahamians, but normally, the majority of the young people do believe in God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, or the religion of Christianity. We have some who believe in the religion of Rastafarianism.
Okay.
But we also have some who have connected to different sources of spirituality as it relates to their sexuality. And so sometimes they don't find a problem with homosexuality. They don't find an issue with that because in some spheres, people think that it's spiritually okay because of the fact that they've been born as somewhat a mistake sometimes. They feel that God may have made a mistake and thought they should have been males and made them females. So
Yes.
they latch on to that belief system of spirituality, but they still believe that God is God and that it's okay for them to express themselves in that fashion.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying to me that the younger people, this is stage 10 to 19, because I wasn't exposed to this kind of crap at all when I was that age.
No.
And it's rather interesting that it's happening at such a young age.
Yes,
What
it is.
is causing young people, 10 to 19, to be attracted to someone or some entity or some people? You did mention social media with all this information coming in. What is it that we have in place to assist these young people? Because, see, the problem is suicide.
Yes.
I've heard them talk about suicide. I was looking at my own family for the last 70 years. I cannot find any hardcore evidence of any proof of suicidal tendencies on my father's side, on my mother's side, right down to the little pigeons today. All of them want to live. There is no hardcore evidence of suicidal tendencies, not people who go to church and believe in God because they know they commit suicide going straight to hell. The thing is that I don't know where that's coming from. That may be coming from social media, of course, but it would appear as if we seem not to have a grounding on godly values, which the Constitution talks about, Christian values,
Right.
which gives a good standing for the Bahamian people. It seems like we have moved away from those hardcore, biblically sound principles, because there are those who would question whether the Bible is relevant today,
right.
or not. And that's fine. They can do that. The Constitution allows for freedom of religion. But I always say, well, what was the purpose of the nation being founded? Because when you look at the purpose of the nation being founded, you would begin to see that there are some things that the founding fathers allowed for to happen, where they have this freedom to express themselves, freedom to change their religion. There's a whole article that deals with that. You could be one Baptist today, then this afternoon you want to be Catholic.
You could do that.
Or you may be Methodist in the morning.
Right.
Then this afternoon you may decide I want to be something else. But that is possible in our system. In certain areas around the world, that is not happening because you have certain entities where they compel people to go in a certain direction.
Yes.
So why is it then that even though you have a position where you can choose wisely, I don't know the percentage, maybe you may have an understanding of what the percentage is like among young people in that age grouping, as to why that is happening in our country, apart from the fact that it's on social media.
Yeah. Well, again, if you go back to the beginning, and I'm talking about the book of Genesis.
Yes, sir.
I'm also a pastor, but if you go back to the beginning and you ask the same question, why did Adam and Eve make the decision to disobey God?
Good question.
When he said without a shadow of a doubt, this is what you should do, not
Exactly.
eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the middle or in the center of the garden.
Yes.
It's a forbidden fruit.
Yes.
A lot of young people believe that fruit is an apple.
Oh, okay.
So their perception is an apple is okay to eat. Why put an apple in the middle of the garden when you can't eat it?
Okay, let me ask you one question. Is it biblically sound? They have an assumption that it's an apple.
Right.
You said
No.
you're a pastor.
No, it's not biblically sound.
Okay, good. All right.
I'm just saying the perception of the young people.
No, I understand that. That's why I asked you if that perception is biblically sound. You said no, but that is true. That is correct.
It's not.
Okay.
There's nothing in the Bible that says it's an apple.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's a
Okay.
forbidden fruit. We don't know what it is. All right.
Okay.
So-
So if something is forbidden, that means you should not participate in it.
Right. You shouldn't touch it.
Which means you have a positive alternative
Yes.
to that.
Yes.
And that is what I think our young people need to look for.
Well,
Because there are
again,
certain things that are not allowed
right.
when you look at the structure that God has given us.
Yes. But if they think that it's an apple, and that an apple is okay to eat, then they would not understand that it was a forbidden act.
Yes.
And so the actions that they're doing, they're participating in, do not seem to be forbidden to them.
Now, that's a good point you raised right there. Doesn't seem to be forbidden to them. Scripture says there's a way that seems right to a man, but the end thereof. You know, you're a pastor. You know how this goes.
it's of evil and destruction, but
really destruction.
I relate to this, and the young people do not see the destructive ways that they are becoming involved in. They do not understand it because it's you see these negative behaviors permeating the airwaves, on the televisions, in the games, in the movies, everywhere in society.
Okay.
And so you have, listen, this looks right to me. It look okay. It seems all right.
Yes.
Everybody's doing it. Everybody is smoking.
Okay. All right. Okay. I've heard that kind of.
Everyone is drinking.
Right.
We have parties for.
I like to drink water. Come and drink some water with me.
Everyone is drinking. You have christenings.
Right. Okay.
Where there's a large party, a variety. Of alcoholic beverages.
Okay.
And so all of this seems okay. It seems all right. Why are you making such a big fuss about it? You have, I don't want to call any names of any particular institutions, but you have institutions that are having celebrations, and let me say this, spiritual celebrations with alcohol.
Yeah.
So alcohol seems to be okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then you have ministers of the gospel who are appearing to be of a homosexual lifestyle, which again, if this is a man of the cloth and he's an homosexual, then why is it wrong? How's it wrong? Mm-hmm. And the perception now of the young people has been skewed to feel that the right is wrong and the wrong is right.
Okay.
And so why shouldn't we participate? Why shouldn't we all just have fun, enjoy life? One of the major problems that we had during the pandemic was that the young people could not adjust. The young people could not adjust to being at home, locked away, cannot go to school, cannot be on the streets, cannot go in the parks, cannot have parties, cannot interact with each other, cannot socialize. We had some people who said, I'd rather kill myself than to be locked away at home.
Okay.
For the months that we were locked away. Mm-hmm. And so all of these perspectives have changed the mindset of the young people. The roughest time that we had in schools, and I'm not speaking for the Ministry of Education, I'm speaking personally. This is my personal observation. Mm-hmm. The roughest time that we had after the pandemic, the church is still reeling from it.
Yes.
But the schools were in an uproar the first week after the pandemic. When the children got back into schools, got back on the streets, were able to do what they wanted to do. It was like Sodom and Gomorrah.
Okay.
No, I'm not exaggerating, because they could not take it. They could not understand it.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the adults, the husbands and wives with extramarital affairs. I'm not speaking about them.
Okay.
I'm speaking about
that particular age grouping, 10 to 19.
10 to 19.
Yeah,
the adjustment was horrible for them.
Okay.
They couldn't understand it. They didn't know where it was coming from. They didn't understand the pandemic. There was a child who I saw who said, the world coming to an end. I might as well kill myself before the world comes to an end.
Right, okay.
All of these perspectives were spewed through social media.
Okay, so it would appear to me as if there's a need for guidance and direction for the younger generation.
There's an extreme, immediate need for the mindset of our young people to be turned back to God, as it were, and the spiritual the spiritual basis on which we were found, the spiritual implications
Yes.
of which the forefathers placed in our
Oh, yeah,
constitution,
that is
spiritual
very important.
values.
Yes.
We have to get back to those. How are we
Yes.
going to do that? It's going to take strategizing by all.
I should think so. Yes.
Everyone needs to participate. It takes a village to
raise a child.
a child.
Yes.
And so it's not one particular area. Boys brigades, girls guides, brownies,
Yes.
RA, all has to come together.
Yes. Yes, sir.
All of the agencies who are working with, we cannot work in a tunnel fashion. We cannot work in
isolation.
In isolation,
I agree
or
with
I was
that.
going to say territorial,
Yes.
like territorialization
Yes.
kind of effort. No, it's not my territory. The Bahamas is ours.
Yes.
This land is our land,
That is true.
and we have to combine our resources in order to bring about the positive change
Right.
that we are looking for. It's not just the government. It's not just social. What's it called?
Social services?
Social society.
Yes. Okay.
It's
All
not
right.
just social society
All
or
right.
civil society.
Civil society.
It's not
yeah,
just
okay.
civil society.
Yes, sir.
It's not just the civic organization. And if I sound passionate about it, by George, I am.
Yes. Okay. Well, that is good. That's very positive.
Because we need. I have grandchildren. I look that old, but I got about 7 grandchildren.
That's plenty.
And
They need direction and guidance.
yeah, we need to do things for them.
Okay.
I'm 60, so I might be a little too old to be concerned about next week or next year for me.
Okay.
But I am concerned about next year or next week for my grandchildren.
Well, I'm glad you're interested in the grandchildren. I call them the pigeons. You know.
Yeah,
They
I
need
understand.
to-
That's what you meant. You said
Yes,
pigeons.
yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is that I think example setting is one thing.
Yes.
And I told him I want to live in a glass house. So when you see me 2:00 in the morning, you know that's Professor Sidney McArthur, Walter Thompson. That's him. You ain't got to gossip and talk about me because you see for yourself. What you see is what you get.
Yes.
You
Yes.
see? Because unfortunately in this country, we have personalities
Yes.
who wallow in gossip.
Yeah.
Rumor, hearsay. This happened to a good friend of mine, and his character has been said, his family has been hurt, and it's like going to try to repair the damage that has occurred to his business and so on.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be very, very careful
Yes.
with our responsibilities in bringing information. In fact, something happened just yesterday. I was to talk about that, but I'll do that in the second hour
Mm-hmm.
when you people are gone. But the thing is that, you know, we have so many things that are occurring in this country, which we're overlooking. We seem to be burdened down
Yes.
with issues. For example, you have constituency issues,
Yes.
you have family issues, you have personal issues. The personal ones, I don't get involved in them. I let you handle it yourself. But community issues,
Yes.
constituency issues, island issues, national issues,
National
those
issues.
are important to me.
Yes. Yes.
And what has happened basically is when you listen to the talk shows, you hear people complaining all the time. And I'm not saying they shouldn't complain. The question that I ask them after they have laid out their complaint, what are you prepared to do about it?
Right?
Now, that's where the difficulty comes in.
Yes.
They seem to run into a brick wall. What am I supposed to do? And I try on these shows as hard as I possibly can with precise, accurate information, because this is basically dealing with your constitution,
Right.
which is the supreme law of the land. And unfortunately, too many of our people have ignored it for 50 years and 9 months. And it has hurt the country. It has hurt our people badly. But we have to fix that. And a lot of people say, Professor, I'm learning about the Constitution. I say, don't worry about the fact that time has passed. That's water under the bridge. Let's start from today,
From today, right.
and let's start moving forward with it. This is Professor Sidney McArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after this break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this. be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
We are back. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And I have what's happening in Rafah and what's happening with the people of Israel and Palestine. I understand they say Palestine has been recognized by the government of the Bahamas. I don't know all the particulars about it, but, you know, we're getting involved in so many other people's business. We got some things right here. Mr. Johnson was telling us about problems with young people, and we need to deal with those issues. Plus, we have issues right in our area, in the Caribbean area, which need to be dealt with. I believe we need to be very careful of the arrangements we're making with these different entities. I don't know whether Palestina, I think it's called that, whether it's a nation. I'm not saying they don't have a right to do what they want to do, but determine what sort of people they want to be and what government they want to have. But we have to be very careful of our relationship with these foreign entities on that side of the world. That's why God put them over there. He said, y'all come on this side. And sometimes we think we know better than God. We want to bring them over on this side. Okay, so we have to exercise caution. Mr. Hyler, you can put some questions to Brother Johnson.
Yes, good day, Bahamas. Good to be before the Bahamian family at all times. Appreciate the opportunity to be here along with our guest, Tyrone Johnson, today, who is interesting because we have our own war going on here in the Bahamas.
Yes, we do.
Spiritual war, of course, and, socioeconomic is a type of war. And, we are proud to have Tyrone Johnson is a staple, we might as well say, like a general. I'm not just saying that, but he's on the front line for so many years. Mr. Johnson, tell us about how long have you been with adolescent health and working along with the professionals in that department?
I've been there since 2000 and working in the capacity. I coordinated the youth program for the center back in 2000 up until 2007. And then I was also working as a counselor there, working with young people with various behavioral challenges. I also did some training with the drug abuse prevention education program. And so I work in that perspective, working with teenagers who have been involved in drug use, drug abuse. I've also worked as, in fact, I've been working with the Student Christian Movement for over 22 years, coordinating the primary division of the SCM, Student Christian Movement, along with Reverend Diana Francis, Reverend Dr. Diana Francis.
Okay.
She's the national president. And so we have had extensive interactions, not only here in the Providence, but the family of islands, as far south as Inagua, Megona, and of course up to Berry Islands and Abaco. And so we've been doing work extensively throughout the Bahamas as it relates to behavioral challenges, directing the young people. We have a program in the Ministry of Education that we are part of, the Student with Focus program under the Ministry of Education, where we work with focus groups to have them refocus their attention on what is valuable, what is worthwhile to them, rather than the negative behaviors. And so we've been doing a whole lot of stuff over the past 23 plus years. For me, I must say, working along with the Ministry of Health in the Department of Public Health has been, a real valuable part of my life. Which, of course, I am so happy that I can inspire people and work with young people to get them to make changes that will positively impact their lives.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, and also to the best of my understanding, and we can give credit and be proud of the work that, even though we analyze the work of successive governments over the past years, and we point out some of the shortcomings or whatnot. But in terms of shedding light on some really positive work that has been going on, I understand that even the establishment of an adolescent health department, or just with a focus on the youth. Tell us about how even that was groundbreaking in terms of other countries not necessarily having that same, department.
Well, back in it initially started in 1992 thereabouts, with the then chief medical officer, Dr. Mercelinda Regis, along with Nurse Kathleen Johnson, Ms. Andre Archer, and other health professionals who felt that there was a need for a specific program to deal with adolescents, as there was somewhat of an increase of pregnant teens back in that area, in that era. And so they developed a clinic just for the pregnant teens to be able to receive antenatal care. That mushroomed from the adolescent clinic into adolescent health initiative or adolescent health services, where a specific programmatic facility was designed, which there was none other in the Caribbean. Nowhere in the Caribbean was a facility that dealt specifically with adolescent and adolescent issues. And so in the 2001, we had persons traveling from throughout the Caribbean and modeling programs to take back to their country after the adolescent health centers programs, which was groundbreaking for the country. We had persons as far as Canada, Chicago, and Boston in the United States, who took the program back to their hometown, their state, their city, and initialized the program there in their country. We had persons from Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad in our region who came and did the same thing. And so it was a first in not only the region, but in the Western Hemisphere, in many parts of the States. They didn't have anything like it. And the wisdom of it came from, like I said, those persons, Dr. Mercelinda Regis, Ms. Kathleen Johnson, Mrs. Andre Archer, and others. Dr. Vicente Roberts, well, he's associate professor at UB now, Vicente Roberts, who was the clinical counselor at the time, clinical psychologist. And those persons saw the need to develop an holistic program for adolescents, where not just pregnant teens could come and receive service, but anyone who is an adolescent who may have a medical need, who may have antenatal care, who may have behavioral challenges, academic challenges, anything, drug challenges, can come and receive the necessary attention and care through the Department of Public Health at the Adolescent Health Center. And so we are strongly going forward. We have not dropped the ball over the past 23 plus years. I've been there that long, but even before that time, we have not dropped it. We have been consistently moving forward with the program. And thanks be to God, we are seeing the impact within the society from the Adolescent Health Center.
Well, that is excellent. And I just want to repeat the part where you said that pretty much when we developed in the Bahamas, that department, it simply did not exist in the region and beyond, even into the US and into Canada. So you're telling me that the Bahamas were the first. So I would say hats off to our visionary leaders in these various departments, with health in particular, mental health included, and all of the other branches of health. So this is an awesome report that Bahamians are forward thinking, innovative, And once we see a need, we do have the nature to be compassionate, to bring change
Yes.
and to agitate for change.
Yeah.
So that's a part of our history. That's a part of our makeup. That's a part of who we are. And I say congratulations to all of those hardworking individuals in health in general.
In general.
In general, the health workers.
And let me say this, Mr. Hyla,
Yes.
not to overlook the fact that I am a disabled person. I cannot see. And to see that they took, there were persons who thought, well, what can this blind man do working in such a capacity? But it was the wisdom of Miss Kathleen Johnson who said, you still have a mind, regardless to you don't have sight, you have a mind, and you have passion, and you have compassion. And that's why I'm still here today at the Adolescent Health Center, because she saw not just a young man who has something to offer, but she saw a man with a disability who could make a difference, in society.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And that is, for me, that's the overarching appreciation and gratitude. We just met a gentleman this morning, AC, who said how much of a contribution I was, and we've seen this time and time
again. Yes, we met a station manager for one of the other radio stations who walked up and said, "Mr. Johnson, I couldn't just pass you by. I had to greet you." Yes, Mr. Coakley was it?
Anthony Coakley.
Okay, that's awesome. And he would have been just one of the many individuals that you would have impacted over the years.
Yeah, many. But
awesome.
and I give God the thanks.
Amen.
And I give him the glory for the opportunity to serve and to work in such a capacity. There are many young people who are unsung heroes in our society.
Yeah.
They don't get the recognition, they don't get the accolades, they don't get the trophies, the certificates, the medals. But you know what? They get the gratification that they would have made a difference in someone's life somewhere along the way. I remember Billy Graham, who was at a church meeting, and only him was there. He was the only one who got saved.
Yes.
But after he got saved, he was able to assist.
Most
So
definitely.
that one seed did, right?
Most definitely.
That became a forest.
You see?
Yes.
And so that is the way that we have to look at life.
Yes.
Yes.
We cannot look at it in a vacuum. We have to be broad in our perspective, broad in our thinking.
Yes.
Think beyond the box. Think outside of what is just the norm.
Yes.
There's nothing that anyone in this world cannot achieve if they really put their true effort and their concern, their compassion, their vision, their zeal behind their belief, their faith behind what they are trying to accomplish.
Yes.
And so for me, that I thank God for my family who support, because becoming blind was not the easiest thing in the world.
Not, yes.
It was not the easiest thing in the world. I thought to give up and just throw the towel in. 'Cause
Exactly.
there's nothing else left for me.
Exactly, yeah.
But at one point, I wanted to become a politician.
Uh-huh.
But my good friend, Desmond Bannister, my good friend, I love him to life.
Yes.
He said, "No, man, Tyrone, no. You're too good a person to become a politician."
Maybe they're the kind of people that we need, because we need to have quality people in our representation.
That's right. That's right. We need good people.
I think we need to look at it more objectively, because right now you hear people complaining all the time about the quality of the personalities
politicians,
who are representing us in the House of Assembly, in the Senate, and in other places. And this is a major problem in our country.
Yes.
And I asked two questions, basically. What major problems has the government of the Bahamas solved on behalf of the Bahamian people over 50 years and 9 months? And here are the clear-cut benefits that come to the Bahamian people as a result of these major national problems having been solved. And the second question is what major constituency problems have been solved by the representative of that particular constituency, and here are the clear-cut benefits that come to the Bahamian people as a result of those major constituency problems having been solved. Because basically, when you look around, you see all kinds of issues.
Yes.
And I think Bahamian people need to start to ask that question and begin to answer it.
Yes.
Look at our communities and see how far we have come. Because right now, we're in a lot of difficulties. And it has been because basically we have sat back and done nothing about a whole lot of things,
yeah.
which we allowed to just keep building up. But see, God is very merciful to give us the opportunity to repent.
Yes.
I tell people on this radio station we need to turn from our wicked ways. And it's very, very difficult when you don't look at yourself and see the weaknesses and shortcomings you have. See, I wouldn't know about the Christian community having wicked ways if I didn't see 2 Chronicles 7:14.
Yes.
But you're looking at people, these should be good people, good Christian people.
They're people of God. That's
But
right.
God said they got wicked ways. Okay, some things you just don't see. So I said to them, I can live in one glass house. Keep those glass clean so you will be able to see what you get is what you see.
Right.
And so the thing is that we have to live a lifestyle that is pleasing to God. And at the same time, our business life, our private life must match up with what God says in His Word.
Of
And
course.
also what the Constitution says.
Says, yes.
Yeah, that's
Definitely.
Most
You know,
definitely.
Professor, when you ask what has, certain political figures done in their constituency,
Yes.
all those questions that you were asking was so ironic. A person like Tyrone Johnson is actually doing what the others supposed to be doing. I gotta tell you. So
but he
that's what's
should
so
be-
ironic.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
that's
saying
what
that
I'm
he should get into politics because we can exchange places right now, And just for full disclosure,
Yeah.
I am known to Mr. Tyrone Johnson, and he is known to me. We've known one another for many years,
Yeah, that's right.
but I would trade places with him in a heartbeat
Yeah.
because we are more alike in terms of spiritually and mentally
Well,
and
that's a
getting
good
work done.
Yes.
Results oriented
Yeah.
and compassionate towards people. So
Yes.
if you don't feel led to come, don't come in because I'm trying to get out. Hold the fort till I get out. I'm only here because it's an appointment. But with what we're experiencing right now, Professor, as you
Yes,
said,
sir.
individuals on the ground and in the trenches, like a Tyrone Johnson,
Yes.
would you say that things are, in terms of problems that you're faced with or the adolescents are faced with, would you say that things are increasing? Things are, getting worse? Are they well managed, or is it overwhelming?
I'd say it's a bit of all of it. It's being managed. They are increasing because of the shift in the mindset of our young people. Things are increasing. We have lots of issues that are not known in the media. Of course, I won't be able to mention all of the issues that are, that are there, that are happening.
Yeah.
Not all of it is in the media, but there are lots of things that are increasing, negative things for the most part.
Yes.
But we do have some good issues amidst it. In the midst of all of the negativity, we do have some young people who are advancing, who are excelling, who are becoming better young people, who are making wise choices.
That's positive.
Right.
Yeah, and so we want to also recognize the positivity. Professor Walter MacArthur, I can't remember what it is.
You'll get used to it.
I was trying to remember just a while ago, but
The call is what they call, and they know it just like
Yeah,
a
Professor.
record book.
Professor mentioned at the beginning of the show that Bahamians wallow in gossip
That is true.
and negativity.
Yes.
So we sometimes we like to mention all of the negatives
Yes.
in our society. We don't mention the student who got the 4-point average.
Yes.
We don't mention the young lady, Doris Johnson, who already wrote a book of poems. We don't, who is also going to be a journalist.
Yes. That's
And
good.
is in UB as well as in grade 12, finishing grade 12. We
Okay.
don't mention the track athlete who does so well at the Carifta
Yes.
and at the World Games. We don't mention the fact that we have young persons who've decided to say no to drugs and
Yes, sir.
no to sex, no to negative
Exactly,
behaviors.
yes.
We don't mention those persons who decide to jump on the bus and head straight home rather than go to a boy's house for a soiree. We
Yeah.
don't mention these things. Why? Because prevention is hardly measured. You
Yes.
could hardly measure prevention in the society.
Yes, sir.
You could measure secondary prevention. You could measure tertiary level prevention.
Yes.
When you do secondary prevention, that's because you have to go to an institution for either counseling or behavior management or anger management or drug treatment. When you go to tertiary level prevention, you've been to an institution where you were housed, where you had to be dependent on the facility for housing and detention
Yes.
and correction.
Yes.
But prevention, you've decided not to do it.
Okay.
But that does not that's not written down. If you don't try the drug again and again, you're never going to come to a secondary or tertiary level facility.
Okay.
Because you have not continued. But if you tried it once and you say, no, but I'm not going to do it again, I'm going to stop. Who writes that down? Who writes your name down to say you decided to stop?
Yeah,
Makes
that's
note of
a
that.
good point. Yeah.
It's
fine.
never measured.
Mhm.
Prevention is never measured.
What can we say to parents who need help with their young people, to keep them on course? What advice would you give
Well,
parents?
I always tell young parents, young parents and older parents, because we have a lot of young parents
And
who are
grandparents,
still,
yeah.
we have some young parents who are just maybe 10 years, no, not 10, let's say 12 years older than their child,
That's
13
yeah,
years
okay.
older than their child.
Yes. Sir.
So they're still young.
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
child is now 13, 14, and
So
the
they're
parent
23.
is just, a little older than that.
Yeah.
So they're still
That's
going
close.
through their challenge.
Yeah.
So we tell them, learn more about adolescent development.
Yes. Sir.
Listen, it's nothing wrong with learning how an adolescent thinks, because then you'll be above them. You'll be above them and know what they're going to think next. You're going to know what they're going to
Exactly.
do next.
Yes.
You
that's
could
true.
you could dictate or predict
Mhm.
what's going to happen next
Yes.
if you know the signs, if you know the stages, if you know what's going to happen. If you say to a child, listen, I want you to wash these dishes, and the child say, I don't need to wash them dishes, I didn't use all of them, you can understand, okay, they are going through that stage where they feel that they're not responsible for everything that went wrong.
Mhm.
And so we can understand that. We can make provisions for that. Okay, no problem. You don't have to wash all of the dishes today. You could wash some today and wash some tomorrow. I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. But I mean, you can't wash some today and wash some tomorrow.
That
But
is true.
you make some sort
Concession
yes,
or adjustment.
adjustment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the word I'm looking for is compromise.
Okay.
Okay.
You make some sort of compromise because you
That's
now
interesting.
understand what that child is going through, what that child is
Yeah.
saying. You know, okay, I expect this to happen. I expect that to be the respond, and so we can make some compromise to this.
Yes.
And then you say, okay, if you don't want to wash the dishes today, no problem. Once you finish your chores, then you can have your TV. Once you finish your chores, then you can go in the park. Once you finish your chores, then you can have that chocolate bar or that ice cream that you so want. But it's compromise. It's all about compromise. But you have to know. And some parents do not know what to expect from their child.
Yes.
And so they get frustrated because they themselves, and I'm not saying that single parenting is the worst thing in the world, but it could be really frustrating.
Yes.
And so you have some single parents who do not know how to adjust to a child saying, no, I don't want to do this. Or no, I want to go to the mall. Or no, I want to go to Fusion with my friends. Or no, I want to go to colors. I want to go to the dance. I want to wear mini skirts and clothes and I want to look like I'm a woman. I want to look like I'm a woman. Because you're doing it. You dress up. Daddy, you smoking dope. Daddy, you smoking cigarettes. Why can't I drink? Why can't? And so you have to wonder in your mind, why is this child getting all this rejection? Why is she giving me all this rejection? Why is he saying all these things? Because you don't understand. Your child is watching you.
Mhm.
And everything that you do, your child is going to mirror.
I'll say this, but I was brought up differently from that in the sense that you could not question the authority of parents.
Yeah, I was
That
thinking,
was never
yeah.
allowed.
Yeah.
That's point number one.
Mhm.
Point number two, I could never tell mommy or daddy if an elder person or a senior person in that community said something against me, they will never ever hear what I have to say. They would just shut you right down because
Mhm.
they'll tell you plainly if you wasn't doing something out of the way,
They wouldn't have
they
said
would not
anything
have
to
said
you.
anything to you. You passed that elderly lady on the porch sitting down and you didn't say good morning, good afternoon.
You're in
Somehow
trouble.
mommy and daddy would know
Well, I'm
before you
hearing
get back home.
definitely. I'm hearing two
Yes.
things here because I'm hearing, Brother Jay, you are suggesting that it's okay to make adjustments, but in the Bahamian culture, according to what Professor is saying, we've been told,
You can't.
don't question anything.
Yeah.
There's
Let-
no
let-
compromise.
No.
It's just my way or the highway.
Let,
Yeah.
let me
So
just open
are
the
you saying
line.
it is okay to make an adjustment or allow just a little leeway?
No, I'm saying you have to. I'm not saying it's
Wow.
okay.
Wow.
I'm saying for the sanctity of you as a parent
That's profound.
and for the
Yeah.
continued development of that child,
Mhm.
you must.
That's-
You have no other choice
Let's
right
open
now.
up the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272. You can ask Brother Johnson any question. He is dealing with young people. And we have to look at problems that young people are faced with.
Mhm.
A lot of the things that they are faced with today, I never ever met them in my life because mommy and daddy were there every single day. Every time I woke up, there was daddy. As young as I am, there was mommy. And there was never a time when I didn't have mommy and daddy. Now, today, of course, some young people don't know who mommy may be
Or who daddy
or
is.
who daddy is for that matter. And particularly the boys, Brother Johnson, maybe I want to ask you a question about the boys in particular because we have been losing too many of our male children. And you do not see fathers involved primarily in the lives of the child, particularly if the child gets into trouble. You see grandmother, you see an aunt, you see a mother, but you see an auntie, but you don't see daddy.
And that's biblical in Proverbs. It
It
says
is.
that.
Yes, very much so. So we have to do something. I tell the men, the women of this country make us look good. 50 years experience that I've had. The women of the country, starting with my mother, right on up to now. The women make the men look good. And I tell the men, you got to learn how to behave yourself and conduct yourself properly because the women look to the men for leadership and we're
Right.
not giving them the kind of leadership that is essential,
is-
what
yeah.
God says we ought to be giving
I
to
agree.
strengthen the family.
Yes,
That's
sir.
not happening.
Yeah, I know you said that we couldn't do anything unless our parents were a part of it, and that is so true. I'm only 60 years of age, and so I caught a tail end of that era.
Yes.
Where if I'm walking in Market Street, Farm Road, we know that, going to T. Gibson Primary, and if there were 10 or 15 persons who were elderly on that street, if I didn't speak to all 10 or 15 of them,
Okay.
by the time as I get back home that evening,
Right.
my parents would know,
Okay.
and I would be in trouble.
Okay, Brother Johnson. I'm hearing the music in the background, so I know we're going to a break.
Yes, sir.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson, Mr. Dwayne Highland, Mr. Johnson on the show. We'll be back after the break.
Your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We are back. It's a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We have our share of problems, but we can get these problems solved. It's going to take some hard work and discipline among our people. In fact, the Constitution speaks to a national commitment for discipline. And unfortunately, we seem not to be as disciplined as we ought to be as a nation. There's a lot of work that has to be done in terms of taking self-discipline, a national commitment to self-discipline.
That's right.
And we have an undisciplined society. You know, I just heard on the report today about 2 police officers who'll be in charge of stealing $90,000. And that tells you that the theft pull is very strong in so many areas. In fact, my sister told me how she was working in an offshore bank with access to dealing with big money. And it seems like people have their fingers very light. They have little respect for something that doesn't belong to you. My mother and father always taught us when we went out window shopping, you look, but you don't touch. You go in the shop, you don't touch the people's things. If you break it, that means they have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So we were disciplined in the sense. I don't know if they do this, Brother Johnson, in the schools, where you had to sit for 45 minutes, fold your hands, and put your finger on your lip. I don't know if they just do that today.
Not now. Not
But that
anymore.
was done in our day, and it taught us discipline. My mother, having 5 boys before she had the first girl, she would put us on the porch. We had an open yard. Wherever the spot she placed you, that's where you stayed until she got back. You dare not move from that spot. And it takes the fact that parents have to instill that in their children. But the sooner they let the hand of the child go, child then running all over the place. They're gone. So the fact that we haven't taught our children certain basic fundamental principles, and the parents themselves don't know it, so that's another problem.
Okay.
So it creates a lot of confusion.
Yes, of course.
But Brother Johnson, speak to this issue about children running away, and you did mention about the fact that some children have this attitude, well, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. The thing is that there has to be authoritative discipline from the parents. Someone has to be in authority.
Yes.
And my mother and father never let us know who's the man and the woman in the house. Even as young as I am, they tell you, you're still their child. And I was the 4th pigeon. And the thing is, they had 12, 3 grand pigeons. And all of them, see, my mother liked boys. She didn't care too much about the girls. And I can understand mothers being that way. So when I see the women, you know, crying over their sons, I think about my own mother.
Yes.
But she would never take up for you when you're wrong.
No.
Okay.
You could not get mommy or daddy to do that because they said no. They would not say this about you if you were not in the wrong. Speak to that, Brother John.
Yeah. Well, again, you mentioned about discipline. We have a very indisciplined society in that there's no respect for rule or the rule of law in our society because it's gone out of the window. Where parents can come to schools and attack teachers because the teacher would have attempted to discipline the child, that is outrageous. That is not acceptable. But because of the laws that have been changed, where only certain people can discipline your child now,
Yes.
the children feel that they can get away with any or everything, and they push the ticket. They go to the limit. They go as far as they could go with breaking the rules and the laws of the school.
Yes.
If they could wear mini skirts, they would. If they could wear earrings in their ears
They
without
would.
being observed, they would. If they could put weave in their hair without getting caught, they would. If they could go into relationships in precarious positions in the
Yes.
school
Yes.
or areas where they should not be, and I'm talking about relations, not just hand-holding relations.
Yes.
If they can get into those kinds of things anywhere, and it doesn't matter, then we have lost. Our young people have lost the rule of law. They have
Yes.
lost self-discipline. They've lost self-respect. And so we now are in a society that is similar to an uncivilized nation,
Yes. Okay.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's because of the things that young people decide that they can do without any kind of recourse or any sort of punishment. And so we now need to get back into disciplining our children
Yes.
much more than we are allowed to,
Yes.
because of the international perspective. The rights of the children, the act or the bill that says children can are allowed to do certain things. They have a right to do this or to do that, to determine when they want to be sexually active, how they want to be sexually active.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Now, I always ask the question, is it constitutionally sound?
Internationally,
Based on-
yes.
Okay. Based on our constitution.
Culture, no.
Okay.
I don't.
because
I
you
think
see-
there can be. They can look at that issue, and okay, you have a 16-year-old child who can give consent for sexual behavior.
Yes.
That 16-year-old child cannot come and get contraception on their own.
Okay.
If it has to do with an insertion or pills or prescription, they cannot get contraception on their own.
Okay.
But they can determine to have sex
yeah,
with anyone that they want to.
that's a problem.
So that's ironic.
yeah, it is.
It is
It's a
ironic.
serious problem.
You can say
Yeah.
redundant is a lot of words
Yeah,
you can
you
apply
can
to that
yes, you
situation.
can. Yes, you can.
But
yeah.
all the people would say it's not common sense.
No,
it
but
don't,
they-
it don't make sense.
It doesn't. It just don't make no sense.
So they can access the sexual behavior,
Yes.
but
They
it is
can't protect.
unlikely
No.
that they would acquire the protection
Mhm.
or go through an adult, whether they need the money or the transportation or just in the heat of the moment. They are unlikely to even be looking for these
yeah,
contraception
but then
or whatnot.
they have to talk to their parent to come to.
Yeah.
And which parent
That's-
is
that's
going
serious.
to which
Yeah.
parent is going to freely say, okay, let me take you to the clinic so you can have contraception so that you
Yeah.
can be sexually active at 14, at
It's very
15,
dangerous.
at
Okay.
16.
Extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
some parents don't see
Yeah.
it until the child is found in a precarious position, and then they have to come to the clinic anyway, in a angry and cantankerous mood.
Yeah, that is true. That is correct.
They want to kill the child,
Okay.
Yes.
but now only because they ran away and were found in a hotel room with 2-3 boys on a video doing the foolishness. Then you say, okay, now I gotta put my child. No, you could have done that when your child first made an implication that she wants a boyfriend,
Yes.
or that she's talking to someone on the phone, or that she is involved with a video of someone or somebody.
Yes.
When you decide to buy your child a cell phone, and the child, boy or girl, is 13, 14, or 15, you should then bring that child to the clinic, male or female, and have them examined to see, are they okay? Are they still
That's
virgin?
correct. Yeah.
Are they still making the right decisions?
Yes.
Talk to them. Let me see what's in their thoughts, their minds. But you're going to buy a child a cell phone and only take it away from them when you see nude photos on it, when you see the unscrupulous conversations.
Yeah, the damage has been done.
But the damage is already done. It's too
Yeah,
late.
too
And who
late,
bought
yeah.
them the cell phone? The iPhone. You bought
Yes.
them the phone. You did this.
Mhm.
And so now what do you do to combat that? The country put things in place for persons who are gambling and who need counseling for gambling,
Yeah.
who are addicts, who have lost all their funds and their monies.
Mhm.
Do you know how many people access those places? None.
Okay.
Yes.
None. They don't access. They don't go for counseling. I gamble. So when you have a child who's already sexually active and you're gonna bring them to the center for counseling, what for? I don't need no counseling. I don't need to talk
Okay.
about sex. I know how to do it. I know what to do. I'm a professional in this. I've done it with 4 or 5 boys already.
Really
You just
terrible.
behind the 8 ball.
Mhm.
Yes. The lines are open, ladies and gentlemen. 326-0271, 326-0272. We'd like you to call in and question Mr. Johnson, Mr. Hyler, because we do have various serious problems, particularly with our young people in the Commonwealth of Bahamas, and our numbers are very small. So we don't want a situation to arise where you have so many of them become disabled. And then, of course, we have problems with NIB.
Mhm.
NIB is telling you now they need to
They
increase the
increase
thing, right?
Yes.
So we got to have
Yes.
working people,
Yes.
and you're looking to the younger generation to become the working population of
That's
our
right.
country.
That's right.
And I think every individual is important. It is better to take preventative measures
Mhm.
to avoid something from happening
Mhm.
rather than allowing it to happen. And then you got to go through the process of being made whole again. And that could take a very long time,
Long
depending
time.
on
Mhm.
the
And more
situation.
resources.
And more resources
My
are needed.
mother always said, what is that? An ounce of
Ounce of
prevention
prevention
is better than a
worth
pound of cure.
That's correct. Yes,
That's
you're
it.
quite right.
That's it.
Yeah,
You
so that's
see?
the thing right there.
Yeah.
We need to take more prevention
Mhm.
or
Preventative
preventative measures.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, I think we don't do much of that.
No,
And it does require cooperation.
it does. It does. It
Yeah,
does.
and you mentioned the fact that now the fact about discipline, because Scripture tells us about corporal punishment for not only for adults but also for children as well. And there is a problem in our country where there are certain personalities who don't believe that corporal punishment. I got plenty of that as a child from my mother and father. Okay, so it didn't kill me.
Mhm, mhm.
But also there was training and discipline
right.
where you were told there were certain things that were acceptable, certain things that were not acceptable.
Mhm.
And we had to look after the younger ones in the family. I couldn't come home and tell my mother that her baby boy, the youngest one in the family, something happened to him. I couldn't come home and tell daddy something happened to him. So I had to make sure that he was well covered,
Mhm,
he was well protected, and I knew what I had to do because that's how mommy and daddy trained us.
Mhm.
The older ones take care of the younger ones.
mhm, mhm.
But today we have children all in the street late into the night and there's no adult supervision at all.
Right.
And that is a major problem in our society where you have all kinds of predators. We have a lot of strangers in our midst. We see faces, but we don't know who they are.
Yes.
And you have people in your country with certain
Excuse me.
attitudes
Mhm,
that are strictly not Bahamian in nature.
mhm,
And I tell them I know what a Bahamian is like because I'm one of them.
Mhm.
So you will see people coming in with strange behavioral patterns,
Mhm.
and you have to take the necessary prevention that is necessary to protect yourself and for the children as well,
Yes.
because they don't know better.
Right.
And the discipline factor, corporal punishment, I want you to comment on that because there are some who are against it.
Mhm.
The Bible supports it. And I think in the schools, only the principal or the headmistress or whoever
Yeah.
is able to deal with corporal punishment.
Yeah. Certain
Yes, speak to
senior
that.
mistresses or senior masters or principals or vice principals are allowed to administer corporal punishment. Let me say, and I want to mention the difference between corporal punishments or discipline and abuse.
Yeah.
Abuse is different from corporal punishment or even discipline.
Yeah.
If you're going to take your fist, your foot, a stick, a broom, a pot, a pan, a rake, electrical cord, hanger, a curtain rod,
Mhm.
anything that's outside of what is prescribed to use to discipline a child is abuse.
Okay.
Once you hit a child with any object, a shoe, any object that can cause a bruise or a mark on a child or an individual, that is physical abuse and is punishable by law. Because you cannot physically abuse your child. If you don't give your child lunch money, that is abuse. That's called neglect. If you don't give your child medication and they're sick, you don't take them to the doctor, that's abuse. That's punishable by law. Okay, so what used to happen back in the day, our parents would beat us with a belt or a paddle if they had it on the buttocks, on the thighs,
That is correct.
where there was a lot of meat.
Yeah.
That's the proper way to punish a child, and you must do it when you're not angry.
Yeah.
I know I've heard persons say, my dad used to come home and sit down and relax, and then he would call you to the front. Josie, come here. What did your mommy tell me about you? What's that you doing? And then they would talk to the child and then administer punishment.
Yeah.
Anytime And I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, my daddy used to bruise my backside and he didn't kill me." Wow. Well, let me
Yes.
tell you something. It did kill something in you, and that
That's
something
serious.
in you is called compassion.
Yeah.
Anytime you were so beaten and so bruised and so abused that you now don't care about your child. Because I had a parent and I was talking, and I just heard the backhand slap and the head hitting the wall. And I'm trying to figure what you do, what you just did, what did you just do? You know, I could call social services because you just abused that child.
Mhm.
And this is a young lady with a young lady with a young daughter.
Okay.
Now that is abuse.
Okay.
That's not discipline. And you say, well, my mom used to do it to me, so they didn't kill me. Yes, you just displayed or demonstrated that it killed a part of you that had compassion. You don't care anymore.
Yes.
You don't see that your child did some wrong and there's a way to correct her,
Corrected. Yes.
not abuse her. Correction is not abuse. Correction comes with discipline. Discipline means to teach a person to do something in the right way.
Yes.
When you're angry and you're punching and drop kicking and slapping and body slamming you, that's abuse.
Yes, it would be. Yeah.
Okay.
That's not the way to abuse. That's not the way to discipline a child. You're hurting that child. And what you're gonna do, you're gonna cause that child to go out and hurt somebody else.
That's correct.
And that's how you have bullying.
Okay.
Okay. Physical abuse leads to bullying in the schools. The child goes to school angry, frustrated, disappointed, dismayed, and someone in that school says, "Why are you so fat?" And then what he does, he takes advantage of that little person who called him fat. And
That's
so he's going to
correct.
beat up that little boy
Mhm.
day after day after day. And then that little boy becomes so distressed and so depressed that now he wants to kill himself.
Yes.
There you have suicide.
Suicide. Okay.
So one thing leads from one thing to a next to a next. It's all interconnected, and we don't see the connection. So when we decide that we want to discipline our children, and we think that the best way to do it, I saw a father one time at a school. His child got a low report card. His GPA was low, and that father was a police officer. And the way he manhandled that boy, leaving that school was embarrassing
Yes.
for the little boy. And all of the students laughed at him. What do you think that child would have done the next time he came back to school? He would hurt one of those children who laughed at him.
Exactly. That's correct.
Because now he wants to show that he is man.
Yeah.
He wants to show, listen, no matter what my daddy do to me, I can show what I can do to yours.
Yes.
All right. And he was a big fellow too.
Yes.
And so he turned into a bully because of what his father would have done to him, who thought that it was okay. Because as his child, he giving him lunch money. I'm buying your school uniform, all these things. Yeah, you're doing it, but you're doing it for the benefit of your child.
That's
So
right.
if they did not learn, you find a way. That's what compromise is. You don't just mistreat a child because he got a lower than 2-point average. You don't do that. A lot of parents say, "Oh, I can't wait for PTA, not PTA. I can't wait for report card day. I can't wait to go to school. If you ain't got a GPA, what I'll do to you? I'll kill you." You just destroyed a child.
Yes, sir.
You literally, with your words and with your intentions, put fear in that child who is now going to do something foolish because they know they're not going to get a 2-point average and they want to avoid getting mistreated or abused in the front of their co-students or fellow students. And so it's a far-reaching effect.
Yes.
No, it did not kill you, but it killed something in you.
Yes.
And that is compassion. It killed your need to be concerned for your own child.
Because I noticed they talked about these videos that be going around, and it would seem as if people have, like you said, the lack of compassion, where people are being physically trampled on, violence breaking out among young people, and they are filming it and making remarks about it. And I agree with you, the compassion is killed in the person because you are not sensitive.
No.
That is a human being just like you.
Yes.
Flesh and blood, skin and bone.
Flesh and blood.
And they can feel pain. And of course, that is the wrong way to go about
That's
it.
the
But
wrong
then
way.
how do we I always ask this question: how do we counteract this? Because there are some parents who are working hard to train their child to be disciplined, to be respectful, and so on. It would seem as if you have a difficult time, unless it's by divine intervention that God would look after. I always tell young people, the best way to survive and get as young as I am is to always listen to mommy and daddy, be respectful to mommy and daddy.
Yes.
God will see to it that you are going to have a long life,
Yes.
and He will make sure look out for your
Yes,
best
sir.
interests,
Yes.
even when no one else is there.
That's right.
Okay, so that's a guarantee right there. But the point is that there are some, and like I tell people, God didn't promise you a bed of roses. You're gonna have some licks.
Yeah.
It's gonna come your way. He said, through much tribulation,
Yes.
Right.
you
Yes,
will
very
enter
good.
Right.
the kingdom of God. And
Yeah.
He said, I will deliver you out of, which means you got to go through it
Yes.
and be delivered from it.
Yes.
You see, so those things we have to look at as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
Well,
But, yeah, go ahead.
we're getting some big answers, and you're enlightening us today. Really, it sounds plain, Mr. Johnson. The way you're saying it is excessive punishment or abuse, but we don't, in the Bahamian culture, we don't see it as excessive. A broomstick, I just beat you, may bruise
Electrical
you a bit
wire,
with
yeah.
a broomstick, a wire, drop cord.
Yeah.
You know when you're supposed to be home. You coming home 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or not coming home at all and
period.
coming back the next day.
Yeah.
So how do you convince the parent that it's not excessive if they feel like, how am I going to drive this message home? You cannot sleep out. You cannot stay out. For the young man that may come home with, the smell of marijuana, and he's in the 9th grade or whatever grade he's in, but he's an adolescent,
Yeah.
And the person smells it, and it enrages some of them, or they, not to make an excuse. What do they do? What do they do to not go to that extreme?
First of all, Brother Hyder, let me say this. If you look in the book of Proverbs, I think it's either 22:6 or 6:22. I always get it confused. But the Bible says, train up a child, a what? A
In the way he
child.
should go.
A child.
Yes.
Train up a child. A child is not an adolescent.
Not an adolescent.
A child is literally a child from 0
Mhm.
to about 8, 9, maybe 10.
If I hear where you're going with this, this is very serious. Please
So,
continue.
If you have not trained that child
Wow.
between 0 and 10, you're gonna have the negative actions. You're gonna have the negative behaviors. I think we said I don't think it's biblical, but bend the tree while
it
it's
is young.
young, because when it's old, it's going to break.
Okay.
Well, now you're about to break an adolescent
Very serious.
because you didn't train a child.
What's the manifestation of a child that is broken? How does that look?
A child who is going to smoke,
Wow.
a child who's going to have sex,
Okay.
a child who's going to join the gang,
Okay.
a child who's going to run away,
Mhm.
a child who wants to go to Fusion with friends,
Yes.
a child who wants to have sex in the bathroom at Fusion,
Wow.
a child who wants to put on a long skirt and a long sleeve when they're leaving and go to the bathroom and walk out in nothing but a panty shorts or something.
Yes.
That's a child that's already been broken
Mm.
because they were not trained
Mm.
when they were a child.
Yes.
Wow.
As a parent, if I'm going to buy bikinis for my child who is 4, 5, 6, if I'm going to buy skimpy clothes for that child when they're 4, 5, and 6, what do I expect them to wear when they're 10, 11, 12, 13? If I'm going to sit down in front of my child and do all of the negative things and laugh when they start whining and carrying on, if I'm going to have a christening and then my child is going to break out in a dance and do some things
Yeah.
that don't seem right, but it's funny, and so we sit down and laugh at it.
Mhm.
When I was a child, 4 or 5, and any visitor come to my mother's house or father's house, mother and father, because they were together for 50 years. So that's 10 years When 10 years of my life, they wasn't there.
Yeah.
But for 50 years of my life, they were there. And so when an adult comes to my house, where my mother and father was, and they say, Mr. Johnson or Mrs. Johnson, the rest of us, was 7 of us, disappear.
Hmm.
They ain't come to us.
Okay.
Disappear.
Understood.
Yeah, yeah.
My mother only looked,
That's it. Gone.
gone, in the
Yeah.
room,
Same
behind
thing.
closed doors.
Mhm.
She understand that. When
Yeah.
we went to church and my mother sang in the choir at Transfiguration Baptist Church on Market Street, Market and Vesey Street, we would sit in the second row. And if we start to talk, we laugh. My mommy look at you. And that's it. Laughing stop.
Mhm.
That was discipline.
Mhm.
We
That
don't
is-
teach our children these things nowadays.
Mhm.
We laugh at them when they say silly things.
Yeah.
We laugh at them when they're on their phone doing TikTok. We enjoy watching them do these crazy things.
Mm.
And then when they are children, we laugh. We enjoy it. We appreciate it. It makes us feel good. Oh, my child, she's so smart. You see a TikTok in there? Look at her. What you call that dance when one half of your hip go up and the next half go down? I can't remember the name of it. But the young people know it. I can't remember the name, what it's called. But if you have your 4 or 5-year-old child doing that, what is it called? Dwayne? I can't remember
What
what,
is
it
it? The dancing,
Mm-hmm.
gyrating,
No.
twerking.
Twerking, that's it.
Okay.
Twerking. When half of the hip go up and half go
Oh,
down
okay.
and twisting up and down like that.
You think they're actually doing that here in the Bahamas?
What?
You should know. You should know.
You think this was that question? Or that was a trick question? No, man. I don't believe you asked that question. What? When we have young people twerking 4 and 5 and they're enjoying it
Wow.
and it's a part of the culture. It's a part,
Yes,
because now
Part of the culture.
we just christened our 1-year-old baby,
Mhm.
and so now we're having a party, and so the 4-year-old is twerking, and everybody's laughing and enjoying it and having a good time.
Mhm.
And then you see this child at 13, 14, doing foolishness, staying out late in the night.
Mhm.
So what do you expect? What do you expect?
Well,
If you have a child who could just walk out the house and go on the basketball court at any time, you couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
No,
I lived near St. Barnabas basketball court.
Yes,
I couldn't go there unless my bigger brother was going.
that's right.
I couldn't.
while you're talking, I'm thinking of a particular song. I can't remember all of the lyrics. I hope you don't get sued, but the comments of the guests of the show are definitely not those of the management, the producer or staff. But there's a particular song I'm thinking of. At first, I was a real good girl. Don't go nowhere
Mhm.
and don't do something else. But now I come to carnival
Oh,
and
I know
now
that is.
I
Yeah.
loose.
Yeah.
So then I look at jump around and all this, So what you talk, it reminds me of that's the story of the
Yes.
Bahamian youth.
No, that's the behavior. That's the story
At
of the
first, I
behavior.
was because right now I have some young relatives, in the family that want to go at very young ages, want to go out and be adults before time.
Mhm.
But there are also others. When I hear their parents speak, they don't go nowhere. They just sit right there, and they only want to go to cousins. They want to go to uncle, auntie, Grammy, and then that's it. They just home and they're doing their work. So it's the two sides of it. What you're saying is social media, and I believe also peer pressure. Then,
Yes, there is peer pressure. There's a lot
what
of
speak to peer pressure, and how do parents bring control to their youth when there's so and so mothers let them do this.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But you see, it all starts again, and I have to revert to how you train up your children. If you have not trained your child from they were 0 to 10,
Mhm.
you are going to have challenges. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
you might as well prepare yourself.
Mhm.
They would say cheap as well. You just prepare yourself.
Mhm.
That's what my dad used to say. Cheap as well. You
Wow.
might as well just prepare yourself
Yeah, serious.
for a challenge as the child becomes 10 to 19.
You
Prepare
have plenty of
yourself.
them.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have some challenges. However, you can get help if
You
you
can
find
get
a-
help.
Yes, you can get
So
help.
today we're talking to Tyrone Johnson of Adolescent Health, and we learned that the Bahamas many years ago, from in the 90s, developed a program in the Ministry of Health specifically for adolescents, adolescent health, when no one else in the region had this type of program. Right into the US and on to Canada, they came to learn the model here in the Bahamas. from our healthcare professionals. So
Yeah.
that is profound. Yet that's the good side of it. The bad side, in terms of we have seemed to let our children have their own way. Because in the schools right now, I mean, we have fights, we have cutting. You know, when I learned of the cutting,
Yeah, we
I
do.
never knew of, you know, this level of
Oh.
pain, you could say.
Yeah, okay, but we're
No.
gonna have to go to a break because we are on the break side. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson, Mr. Wayne Hyler, and Mr. Not here, Tyrone Johnson. I gotta get his name right. We'll be back after the break. Thank you very much. Range of issues and problems and conditions that are happening. I'm going to say it plainly to the Bahamian people. There's such a thing as repentance. People can change. God has made it possible for us to change. But the point is, you have to be willing to change. You can come to repentance. See, God says, no matter how laden down you may be, He is able to bring you relief. But now you have to be willing to repent. And this, the hardest thing, I learned this from my late pastor, Dr. Herbert W. Armstrong. The hardest thing for a human being to do is to admit error and change. Okay? And we have to struggle with that because we got carnal nature. And carnal nature doesn't want to say, well, you know, I'm wrong. So we want to continue in the wrong way, and we will continue doing wrong after wrong after wrong because we never admitted to the fact that we need to make changes.
Right.
Okay? This is why you see conditions in our country deteriorating, because those who've been given responsibility make errors. They call them missteps. I say, no. They're national sins. That's what they are. Community sins, constituency sins, national sins, family sins, personal sins. And them personal ones, you got to work on that yourself. I ain't getting it that way. But the others, I'll
Yeah,
speak
you
to
can
them.
work with them.
But the thing is that no, we can repent, we can change. And I just want to say about those who consider to be broken, yes, it's because of the devil. Yes, it's because of the demons, but there's still hope for you.
Yes.
Okay? But now you have to come to some realization that there are things you are going to have to do. And God will help you as you go forward. Brother Johnson?
Yeah, if we have a lot of broken young people in society, and I can say this, that they came from broken homes. One of the things that has contributed to the broken homes is addiction, whether it's alcohol addiction, whether it's drug addiction, whether it's gambling addiction, whatever it is. The psychology of addiction has really caused a destabilization, as it were, of the family. We call them functional and dysfunctional families.
Okay.
Those issues have arisen because of drug use, drug abuse, alcohol use, alcohol abuse, immorality, sexual abuse, physical abuse. All of these contributing factors have made families in this country unstable,
Yes, unstable.
and dysfunctional.
Okay.
We don't like to use this, and I'm not insensitive to homosexuality. I am somewhat homophobic, but homosexuality has also played a role in the dysfunctionality of our families.
Yes.
In a major way. We don't see it all the time. We don't recognize it.
Okay.
But we have families that are separated because of the existence of a homosexual spouse.
Yes.
Who would have decided to trade places, as it were,
Yes.
with their gender. And so these are the things that create major situations and brokenness in some of our families. And the people who feel it the most are the young people.
Yeah.
Us as adults, we don't feel it
Yes.
as much because we made the choice. When our children are now living as if, I don't know, my mother, my father, my parent
Yes.
has decided to go one way or do the other thing, or they can't get away from drugs or some addiction, and then they are placed in a government facility.
Yes.
And in that government facility, they are faced with challenges again. Okay, being overlooked, being unable to find a responsible person to take them on as children or to become their parent, and they are saddened, they are distressed, they are depressed, they're anxious, they become suicidal, and all these other negative things. And that's why we have so many children who cannot. And some people cannot take on the burden
Yes.
of taking a broken child into their home and say, well, I'm going to take the opportunity to rear them.
Yes.
We've had people who made adoptions, and I know for a fact after the adoption process had taken place, they became more distressed
Yes.
from the child than they did before they had that child.
Okay, Brother Johnson, I want to continue on that vein because I have some questions for you. I'll call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Professor. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing quite well today.
Yeah, I was listening to Brother Johnson. What Department of Education is he with?
No, I'm with Ministry of Health, Department of Public Health.
Okay, so are y'all promoting contraception in the schools? Because I heard you say precaution is better than
Prevention is better than
Prevention
cure.
is better than cure. This is Lady Russell, isn't it?
This is Lady Russell, and I'm concerned, and I like your work, and I appreciate that there's someone there to speak with young people.
Yes.
But I think I'm disagreeing with the national prescription for the problem. If we are a Christian nation, Brother Johnson and Professor, we have to teach Christian standards
Yes, ma'am.
in those schools. There hasn't been anyone since Brother Burroughs Remember Brother Bowles who used to do Youth Alive every year
Mhm,
with
Yes.
DFM?
Yes, yes.
There hasn't been anyone in there to teach those young people the standards of God. Every Friday, there should be praise, worship, and word in those schools. We don't have to apologize for being a Christian nation, Brother Johnson. And contraception is not the answer, because when they get that age, there ain't no medicine for that. So we need to be teaching young people how to uphold the standards of God, and young people are open to challenges. If you tell them their virginity is worth something, they'll keep it. But if you tell them they can have sex anywhere they like, or like the two girls I saw on the video the other day, feeling up each other in the middle of a sports meet, this is a disgrace to any nation.
Yes, ma'am.
Lady
I
Russell,
don't
let me
care
just
how many-
say, Lady Russell, I did
Yeah.
not promote. I never said that I promote contraception.
No, I know you.
My
I know
only
you don't.
my only reference to contraception is that a 16-year older can give consent to having sex,
Have sex,
but they
can't
cannot give consent to contraception.
Yeah, that is correct.
That's all I
what he
said. I never
yeah.
said that it is right. I never said that they should be sexually active.
I know.
And I'm not promoting sexuality in anyone. I'm promoting training up a child in the way that they should go.
And Brother Johnson, I'm encouraging the schools to hire people who are able to teach Christian values to our children.
Yes.
Because I was in the House of Assembly a number of times when I saw elected representatives agreeing to change the law and reducing the age of consent
Yes.
down to where pedophiles could have a good time. I also saw elected representatives move a bill to decriminalize sex with animals. I was
Yes.
mortified.
Right.
And as they line up again to try to take control of this nation, Brother Johnson, we're going to stop them. We're going to make sure it don't happen. We're not going further down that rabbit hole.
No, ma'am.
Those
But
young people can be saved.
Yes.
Their parents can be saved.
let me just say, Lady Russell, that we have, I know because I'm a part of the National Student Christian Movement.
Yeah.
Yes.
And have been for more than 20 years, but we are in the schools, and the message of spiritual values are being taught through the SEM and other programs in the school. Every so
Wonderful.
often, there are schools that have something called spiritual enrichment.
Praise
And that
God.
is when pastors, ministers of the gospel, true men and women of God come in to all of the schools that invite them to come in, and they go to every class and they engage in the time of praise and worship, a time
Amen.
of prayer, and a time of the word and leading to Christ. This is an ongoing program. I can tell you. And I know Dave Burris did an awesome thing,
Awesome
but
job.
it is still happening in our schools. I must tell you, I
Amen.
know
Amen.
Brother Hyde and I have done it in
What
many of the
what
schools.
what kind of numbers do you have in your SCM movement?
I know that we just had retreat on this weekend past, and it was well attended at the First Baptist Church. Reverend Diana Francis is the national president of that, and I know that there are many schools. I cannot give you an accurate number of how many schools are in the SEM, primary, junior, and senior, and we also have a tertiary level area at UB, and they are all clubs that are active in the schools. We even have private schools who are involved in the SCM, and they are part of what's going on. So,
Brother Johnson, we're going to need a revival to save our young people, because when Kamala Harris was here with her big check to promote that LGBT lifestyle, that is the end of the nation named the Bahamas. We are already small. We can't have our young people thinking that they can cut body parts off or even learn homosexuality as a lifestyle. We don't have enough children already. We have to promote marriage, family, wholesome young people behaving properly.
Yes.
And we can't be ashamed of it, Brother Johnson.
No, we're not.
Can't
We're
act like those people abroad have any say over here, because they do not. And any public official that disagrees with the Christian standards of this nation, we will run them straight out of our politics, Brother Johnson.
I with you, madam.
Just point, and we will deal with them. Because Sir, the nation is under 500,000 people.
I know. I
We
understand.
have to promote Christian values, normal sex, and marriage.
And that's the
We don't have
Constitution. That's the
time.
Constitution. It's
Yes,
it's in
it
the
is.
preamble of our Constitution where we were founded on spiritual values
But I'm
and the
telling
rule
you,
of
sir,
law. And so we
in
need to
our
continue that.
politics,
Mhm.
In our politics, we have allowed the weevil to get involved and to suggest that we could take an alternate route. We cannot and we will not. And so I am encouraged that you're on here today saying what you represent. I'm saying we need a whole lot more than that FCM movement, and we need to root out people in our educational system who are promoting LGBT values. It will not be tolerated, Brother Johnson.
I got
Matter of
you.
fact, I can call you to find out who we need to get rid of.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
it sounds like there's a double thing going on here. It ain't going to be allowed. No, sir.
Lady Russell, I was on your show many times, man. You know who this is. This is
I'm just realizing you have a sight challenge, right?
yes, ma'am. I do. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, and you do an awesome job.
I thank
You do an
God for it.
awesome
I
job.
thank God for it.
And I thank God for you.
I'm happy to hear from
now.
you today. I'm happy to hear from you. And I
Yes,
really was
sir.
not pushing anything unnecessary or
But I
negative.
know who you are and I know what you represent. And so I'm talking to the listeners so that we'll get in and do that. I'm also happy to announce that Minister Adrana Lockhart, who used to do the national prayer every
Yes,
Friday night,
yes.
remember her?
Uh-huh.
She is raising up 10,000 praying Bahamian women
Wow.
to deal with this attack we have on our national identity,
Yes, ma'am.
where these people have no intention of being Bahamian, no intention of changing any part of their culture. They just come to knock us over. So God has shown us that we need to pray and we need to get every prayer warrior engaged in defending these national values and this territory. So we're just letting you know. And
Yeah, give me a call.
I'll
Give me a call.
be coming to you for some names.
Give me a call, Lady Russell. Give me a
I
call.
will.
Okay? I listen to hear from
Thank you
you.
so much.
God
God
bless
bless you,
you.
Brother Thompson.
Thank you for
Okay,
calling
thank
in.
you.
All right.
Thank you for your
All right.
call. Yeah, she said a lot. And the thing is, what happens to these, you said, I want you to comment more on these broken children. Did you say they cannot be adopted? Or
Not that they cannot. There are persons who may want to adopt them,
yes,
but because of the issues that they may be facing, because of the behavioral challenges, because of where they came from, and some of them do have some issues that are stretching, far-reaching implications if you were to bring them into your family.
okay,
And so because of that, a lot of the persons cannot and do not become, and there are some of them who are 18 and almost 20,
yes,
who have not been able to be adopted by a family who would have wanted some of these children. And then you have to understand, there are some parents who gave birth to these children and just left them and then never came back.
yes,
And then you wonder, who's the parent? Where did the parent come from?
yes,
What lifestyle that a parent had? You know, what kind of genealogy is there going to be?
yes,
What inheritance or the heritage that this child is going to display when they become old enough? What's going to happen? And the fear of that unknown eventuality kind of is an obstacle for persons who want to adopt.
What sort of numbers are we talking about? What are the state of the homes, the children homes?
Now, I can't speak to that. I would
In
allow
terms of,
social
are they
services.
full? Are they medium?
No, they're
Any of
filled.
that?
They are
Okay.
filled.
Okay.
The homes are filled. I can say that much. The homes
Wow.
are filled. But the numbers, actual numbers, and I can't speak
Yeah,
to social
yeah,
services, so
yeah.
I don't want to attempt to.
Mhm.
I don't want to call me and berate me.
Stay in
But
your
I
lane.
think-
Yeah, I stay in my lane.
Stay in your
Yeah,
lane.
yeah, but I know sometimes it can be difficult to get accurate and precise information from certain people who may be afraid to give it. But I think if the authorities are going to be open and honest with the public, I think it is better for us in the public to have a proper understanding of the issue. Because if we do have it, then what can happen also is that we will be able to make better decisions.
Yes.
Because some things are still shady.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And there's not enough clarity. Okay, because I can tell you from some things that I have been investigating and trying to find out. I cannot actually speak to it specifically unless I know the hardcore facts of the situation. What has happened, and I was supposed to speak to something that happened just yesterday, but that kind of shifted at the last minute. But I'll deal with that tomorrow. No, I know. Yeah, caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm listening to your show, and it's a wonderful topic. I just spoke about this with a class that I lecture in the evening.
Yes, ma'am.
And one of the things that came up was talking about parenting classes. You see, I really think in our culture, we don't take the job of parenting as seriously as we should.
Yes,
When
ma'am.
you are in charge, I'm not saying everybody, but unfortunately, when you're in the school system, when you're an educator, those children who have not been raised adequately by people they themselves have not been raised adequately, they often become parents. And I don't know, I can ask your guest, good afternoon, by the way, I can ask your guest whether or not, is there such a thing as parenting classes or national parenting classes that can be held under the guise of the Department of Social Services and the Public Hospitals Authority? We're talking something that is ongoing, something that is required and mandatory once you have become pregnant. And I'm not talking just childbirth classes. I'm talking about parenting classes, parenting a child as they develop, as they grow, as they change. Because as they grow, you grow. And I honestly think that we don't take the job of parenting as seriously as we should. Many people who've had children young, you would have them say, "Wow, child, I can live my life," and the kids are by the wayside. But when you become a parent, your priorities change.
Yes, ma'am.
You are no longer just living for yourself. And I was an educator, and I'm still an educator. And when we're in the classroom, we see the results of a lack of parenting or of terrible parenting. Because we have people in our society who have children. They're a byproduct of a good physical diet. That's all there is. Their daddies are not there. I'm calling them grandmama. And we see girls, young girls, one walking ahead. I saw one the other day. One walking ahead, one in the stroller, one in the carrier. And you're walking. Where is the father? Why? Why do you feel you must demean yourself to that point? Children are expensive. They are a great responsibility. And I really think the government, they may consider it socialist, but we need to teach some of our people how to parent. And that is the long and short of it. Until we move towards that, we're going to continue to have these issues where they go on shock treatment, really yelling in their face and stuff. That's not going to solve the problem to some of that. It won't. I'm sorry.
Let me answer your question to the
I'll hang up and let you. Go ahead.
No, you asked a question about parenting program. The National Parenting Program is under social services, but it's under the parents who are detained or who are ordered to do parenting classes.
See, that shouldn't be. That should be something across the board.
Right, I understand what you're saying. You're not talking about that program that exists already.
No,
you're talking about one that will teach young persons. Now, are you talking about pregnant teens?
I'm talking about whoever. You could be a
young
professional.
Young people at all, as a whole.
No.
Well,
everybody.
Let me tell you, the curriculum, the Health and Family Life curriculum has a component in it that talks about parenting. Whether that's enough or not.
No, I can honestly say, because Family Life has become a course where that's not taken seriously either. They pass them out and then they come out and decide they are not prepared.
It does not deal with the full implications of being a parent, and I think that is something that needs to be adjusted and taught as a separate subject, not just in health and family life, but parenting should be something that is taught throughout the school year.
Exactly, and throughout the duration of that
Yes,
child's
I
life.
agree with
Because
you. I agree with
parenting an
you.
infant is different. Parenting
Yeah.
a child in middle childhood is different. Parenting
Yes.
a tween is different.
Yes.
Parenting a teen, parenting an adult is different.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so we really need to consider that. So
Yes.
we'll put our money in in a valuable program to
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
But
something
thank
needs
you
to be
very
developed
much.
like that. You're absolutely correct. And I agree with you. Something needs to be developed, something that's sustainable, something that's
Yes.
ongoing, something that is almost like just like English and math.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you,
You're
ma'am, for
welcome.
your
Bye-bye.
contribution. Gentlemen, we're going to have to wrap up now.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson, and then Wayne had to do it
Yeah.
quickly.
Yes, sir. I
before
thank
time
you.
is
I
out.
thank you for the time to speak, and I would like to come back again so we can continue
Yeah, we'll
this
give
most
you, we'll give you
interesting,
another time. Yeah,
conversation.
yeah, Mr. Hyler.
Yes, it's been definitely an eye-opening conversation, and we can continue in the near future. Mr. Johnson's office is not very far from the studio,
Okay.
So we can make that arrangement. So
All
thank
right.
you for the enlightening conversation.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Sidney MacArthur Walter
Thank
Thompson.
you. Thank you very much. You got it right at that point.
Okay.
This has been your host, Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson, on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We will be here tomorrow. I'll be speaking on the topic I wanted to get on today. It's going to be hot for tomorrow. So listen very carefully what's going to happen, because something happened yesterday. I was supposed to deal with that today. But anyhow, since you were here, we just let it go. This has been Professor. We'll see you again tomorrow between 2 and 4. Thank you very much for listening, and have a pleasant afternoon.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and